Hello, everyone. Welcome to day number 5 of your self-love retreat. So again, if you've missed any of the other days, I recommend that you go back and carve out some time for those. And yeah, because there's so many different facets of self-love. And even though you may see the title and think, oh, I don't need to work on that area, I'm telling you, it can be a little bit surprising once you hear what I have to say and realize that, oh my gosh, I haven't been fully loving myself in regards to this specific facet or area. So today we're going to be diving into your purpose and money because they're oftentimes related. Not always, but often. So let's start with living your purpose as part of self love. So here's the deal, we all chose to come onto the planet, and we decided to have certain gifts and abilities that were needed on the planet at this time. Now, a lot of us growing up, we shut down those gifts. We hid them because they were often criticized by the people that we grew up with. And so for many of us, this self-love piece of living your purpose is going to be acknowledging first what it is. And it's really not rocket science. Again, many of us have hidden, but think back to when you were a child and what you loved to do, or even what you love to do now. Now, you might not make time to do it, but our purpose is often associated with what we love to do or what we used to love to do. Now, our purpose also has to do with what are you just naturally good at? What do you just naturally want to do, even if you didn't get paid for it? So I'll give you an example. I'll give you an example of the first piece, right? What I love to do. I really do love to listen to people's issues, and I love to help them to move through it. Now, I'm also really good at it. And I think part of that is because I set myself up with a mom that wouldn't go to counseling, so I became her counselor. Did I love that as a child? No, it felt really stressful. But now I love to do that. And I've always loved to help people do that. My friends, strangers, everyone. So I'm good at it, right? I'm good at it and I love to do it. One of my gifts is which makes me good at being a guide and a coach, is that I love to ask questions. Now, this is another piece. What were you criticized for growing up? That is probably one of your gifts. So I was criticized for asking questions. I was always told, you ask too many questions, right? Like, what's wrong with you? Why do you ask so many questions? But that is what makes me good at what I do now, right? So, 3 things I want you to reflect on. One, what do you love to do, or what did you love to do? 2, what are you good at? 3, what were you criticized for? Maybe still are criticized for, typically by the people we grew up with, family, peers, etc. And again, this is a huge piece of self love because you were actually put on this planet, chose to be on this planet to share these gifts. Sharing your gifts, not hiding them, is an act of self love, right? Doing work that you love. So now I'm going to talk a little bit. So there's purpose where I believe that your purpose is what you are meant to do with everyone, everywhere, right? It's just who you naturally are. And many of us also get paid for it, or we're doing it in our workplace, even if it's needed in the workplace. Let's just put it that way. But you're meant to share your gifts. You're meant to do what you love and what you're good at and to get paid for it. Right? So let me give you an example. Um, I, growing up, so this is why many of us stray from this. We're number one, we're taught to hide our gifts because they were criticized, so we shut them down. And then we were also told what we should do or work, what we should go to college for, either because your parents wanted you to, or because you were taught that it was what would make you money, and this other thing that you love to do, maybe art or music, wasn't going to make you money, as an example. So, like, I went to school for nursing because I heard from all of my relatives there will always be a need for nurses. You should go for nursing. And because I like to help people, I thought, oh, yeah, yeah, that's great. I'm going to do that. Well, remember the universe, your higher level team, divine team, if you aren't meant to do something, is going to likely try to divert you into the direction you are to go into. So here I am halfway through my honors nursing school program, and I could not stick people with a needle. I couldn't. I would, I was supposed to do that. I could not do it. And my teacher's like, as a nurse, that's what you have to do. And I was like, well, I'm going to have to go down to counseling and ask what I need to do instead because I can't. I physically could not make myself. Now, I have never minded being stuck. I used to give blood all the time. I had no freaking idea that I was going to have trouble sticking someone. And this was my soul and my higher level team diverting me again. What I've said in a previous video, right? Listening to our bodies. I would get nauseous. I would get extremely panicked and stressed. So listening to my body and my emotions, I just could not do it. And then I was guided into occupational therapy, which really should be called life coaching. That's a lot of what we're doing with people. We're doing stress management, we're doing all sorts of things, right? We're supposed to look at the whole person. We're even meant to teach about spirituality and and talk about spirituality with people. Crazy, right? So I ended up going to occupational therapy school. So yeah, crazy. So that's just an example of going in one direction and being diverted and redirected, whatever you want to call it. Now, so take some time, pause if you want to answer those three questions. Again, what do you love to do? What do you do naturally? Like you're just naturally good at it. And then what were you criticized for or shut down for growing up? That's likely one of your gifts. Yeah, like I was shut down for asking questions. I was criticized for asking questions. And again, this is self love by doing work you love, by showing up and sharing your gifts with people. Okay, and then let's move into money. And again, this is very connected. So I'm going to give you an example to start with. So I'm doing OT. I did it for, let's see, I graduated in December 1998. And until 2010, I was doing occupational therapy and rehab hospitals, schools, nursing homes. I tried all different areas and I just still didn't feel very fulfilled. In 2004, I mean, at this time, I was already questioning. I was like, God, I just feel like I'm meant to be doing more with this, that more than I'm doing. Um, you know, am I to go back to school? Am I to study? Like, I was like, yoga, like, you know, and then all of a sudden, September 2004 comes and I'm diagnosed with MS. And I didn't know it at the time, but this was another, let's call it a redirection. So for the next 6 years, I focused deeply on healing myself alternatively. As many of you know, that those are the 10 keys that I teach now, the 10 evolve keys. And by 2010, I'm going to back up. By 2008, I had been in training for meditation and training for yoga teacher training, 2008, 9. And 2008, after I got my first meditation training, I was like, I need to start teaching this. So I technically opened my own business teaching group meditation classes in 2008. I was still working part-time at the hospital as much as I could, though, and still working really deeply on healing the MS. Now I start to have deeper guidance. 2008, 9, I'm supposed to open my own business like full time. And yet, if you listen to my previous video on relationships, I struggled a lot with people pleasing, not wanting to cause conflict, in this case with my now ex-husband, who did not want me just to have my own business and quit the hospital job because of his own money fears. But I'm getting guidance, like really strong guidance to do this. As we move into 2010, I know, like I know, and this is July, I know that I am meant to quit my hospital job and open my business full time. And I already know what my husband thinks at the time. And I go to work one day and I say to my boss, I started this meditation program and I was doing it at the hospital too. I forgot to add that part. So they let me start to bring it into the hospital. And people were coming just for this meditation program. They told me I brought in over $1 million just because people wanted to come for this. And so I finally got up the nerve to ask for a raise. So here we are talking about money. I knew I was bringing in a lot more money for them. I was not getting paid very much. So I asked for a raise, a $5 an hour raise, which in the grand scheme of things, if I'm bringing in an extra $1 million a year, I just knew that I had to ask for more. I felt it in my soul, in my body. I wasn't being honored by the amount of money that I was receiving for my gifts. Well, my boss ends up telling me no. I talked to the hospital administrator. Ultimately, he has the final say, and, no. And I also want you to know that I feel like you're really to go open your own business. And I was like, she goes, I know you can't teach everything you want to teach here in this Western medicine hospital at this time. So here is my higher levels guiding me to ask for a raise, my soul guiding me to ask for a raise. I ask, I get told no, and then I get told to go open my own business. I put in my resignation that day. I gave a month notice because I wanted to be able to fully train somebody else at the hospital to continue the program because so many people were benefiting from it. So, yeah, so that push for money. So let's talk a little bit about that. Okay, let's talk a little bit about that. And I know some of you are wondering then, well, what happened with starting your business? Let's just say I did, and starting a business sometimes happens slowly. And I left and was asked to, by a doctor, a sleep clinic doctor who I had very successful results with for sleeping, using this meditation that you guys now know is the therapeutic meditation process. I was asked by him, he's like, you left the hospital, like, will you come work for me and just see my sleep patients part-time? So that was me, again, being guided to share my gifts in this way. And I got paid a lot more. He paid me like $15 more an hour than what I was making at the hospital. I could make my own schedule. I could work part-time and continue to grow my business. It was divine. Let's just say it was divine unfolding, divine timing. So let's again move into more of the money piece. So money and self-love. So I want to first say that the amount of money you have does not equal your worth. Okay. And the amount of money you're willing to receive does. reflect what you believe you're worthy of, what you're deserving of. And if you're not receiving what feels good to you and you stay in something maybe that you don't want to do, number one, or maybe even that you do want to do, but the money isn't feeling good. You know what you're offering is worth more. Okay, this is a big deal. So under earning is the opposite of self-love. So many of you listening to this are meant maybe to do what you're currently doing, but you're meant to receive more money for it. Now, some of you, it's going to be both. You're like, oh my God, I do not like what I'm doing. I am not living my purpose. And I'm under earning. And again, don't beat yourself up for any of this. Awareness is key. And then, of course, we need to look at those limiting beliefs. Those are the number one thing that are holding you back from fully living your purpose and from receiving money and receiving money. And I'm going to say the biggest limiting belief is I'm not worthy. And this is what I call our perfectionist, right? So I'm not worthy or deserving of more, right? No one's going to want what I have. I'm not worthy or deserving of it. That's a big one. Also under perfection is that fear of making a mistake, of failing. You better bet that I had fear of failing. But yet there was a part of me that knew, like I knew that this is what I was meant to do no matter what happened. And again, as we go back to following your guidance in a previous video, there are no mistakes, there are no failures. So a lot of you are going to be needing to work with your perfectionist so you can receive more money and or more fully live your purpose, what you're being guided to do in terms of your purpose. So again, those 3 questions I asked earlier, and then also looking at what are the limiting beliefs that could hold you back from following your guidance in relation to your purpose and what you're meant to do and offer in the world. And also the not good enough yet, don't deserve, not good enough. That's going to hold you back from receiving the money that you really deserve to be receiving. Now, another piece to the money and how we might not be loving ourselves in terms of money is, this was a big one for me. I was scared to look at my numbers. Right? I was scared to look at my numbers. And it really is an act of self-love to be looking at your numbers, to learn how to manage your money. I didn't learn how to do that growing up. This is something I learned just in the past 5 years, right? I was still not loving myself fully in terms of money because I was afraid to look at my numbers and to manage it because I had never been taught that before. So it was an act of self-love for me to get help. And now I coach a lot of people on how to manage their money, as well as moving through money blocks, right? That's one of the keys that I teach a lot of people and work with a lot of people on, clearing out those money blocks. So a lot of us also, because we don't think we deserve, we won't receive money, not just for our work, but from other people. Right? We won't receive money from family or our partners or, gosh, just in general, like gifts, right? Gifts, money. Another facet of this money and self-love piece is looking at, am I consciously spending my money, right? Am I consciously doing it, or am I using spending as a stuffing pattern to fill my hole of I'm not good enough? So a lot of people go out and buy things to fill that hole, I'm going to call it, the I'm not good enough lovable hole. It's shopping therapy, people say. It's really, you think it's a way that's going to fill your self-love cup. And I'm here to tell you that, yes, I want you to spend money on yourself. That's another issue. Some people won't spend money on themselves. So I want you to do that, but I want you to do it consciously, not in a way that's going to put you in debt, right? So this was something I had to go through as well. I would overgive, not always to myself, but I supported one of my partners for almost 7 years. And that was not loving of me at all. Right. So I learned growing up money equals love. And I had to give money and or sex in order to get love and to be lovable. Right? So this is a big piece for a lot of people listening to this. And a lot of my clients come to me and they're over giving to other people and they're not spending on themselves. Some of them are doing both. And neither is loving of yourself. If you're putting yourself in debt to give to somebody else, that is not loving of yourself. Also, if you are giving to yourself, but you're going into debt and fear, that's not loving of yourself either. Right. So these are big pieces to look at in terms of money, purpose, and money. So I know I just gave you quite a bit of information here. Again, awareness is key. You might want to go back and re-listen to this, pause this, take some notes, and then really ask yourself, okay, of all of these self-love facets, areas that Tanya's talked about, which one or two, because I don't want you to overwhelm yourself, do I really want to focus on now? That I'm really being guided to focus on now as an act of self-love, right? And again, we're not shaming ourselves for any of this. We can only change what we become aware of and accept. If you shame yourself for any of this, beat yourself up for any of this, that's your perfectionist. We need to work with that part of you. Then, you're just going to stay stuck. Now, again, a lot of us got into these situations with our work and with money because of people pleasing, right? Trying to make others happy, but also what I call the superhuman, trying to save other people. I was trying to save my partner. I was trying to make him happy, right? So I really needed to work on those patterns, those unhealthy 3P patterns, in order to make these shifts in purpose, in money, pretty much in all these life areas, right? So again, what are the limiting beliefs and fears that keep you from fully sharing your gifts, following your guidance, doing your purpose here on the planet that you're being guided to do? And what are those limiting beliefs around money that are keeping you from fully loving yourself in the areas of money, in the area of money? And then we always want to end with what is true? I might not believe it 100%, but what is the truth now? So I don't deserve more money. The truth is, you do. You deserve to receive what feels good for you, what is supportive of you, right? And we can receive from lots of different people. But if we don't think we are worthy or lovable or good enough or deserving, then we won't receive. So that's a big one for a lot of people to have to shift. Right? And again, we use our guided meditation practices once we are aware, right? Aware of these limiting beliefs and the truths that we want to start planting. We use our tools. We carve out time to use our tools, the truth loop, guided meditation practices, and the self-love process. You guys all have access to those right now for free for a short time. And then there'll be other opportunities to go deeper if you'd like to do that. But definitely be using those tools now while they're free and see what benefit they're going to give you. The more you use them, the more they're going to work. Right? So I talked about the internal inspired actions and the external. So using those tools are the internal inspired actions to change, shift your internal landscape, your belief blueprint. Because if you are not fully loving yourself in all of these areas, it is because of your limiting beliefs that you hold about yourself in the world. So that's the internal. We use those tools to shift those limiting beliefs and plant the seeds of what's true now. And that then helps us to take those external actions, asking for a raise in this case, maybe starting your own business part-time like I did at first, perhaps looking at other jobs, looking for a different job, perhaps looking at your numbers now. That's right. That's an external action, looking at your numbers, learning how to manage your money, getting support to do that, looking at what you're really spending your money on, conscious spending. Those are all what I would call external action. Those are just a few possibilities. There are many. All right, you guys. So again, compassion, compassion, curiosity, no beating yourself up. I think this doesn't have to be so challenging if we don't beat ourselves up for it. And if we tell ourselves we don't have to change everything now, we just have to put one foot in front of the other, carve out some time every day, and things will unfold. The healing will happen, the shifts will happen, the changes will happen. And making that time to do it is essential. That's why that was video 1. So congratulations on listening to the last video, video number 5. Again, take some time if you haven't to listen to all the videos, take some notes, and then please join me for the live class. I'm going to be sending out the details for that on the day of the class. And come to class with the 1 or 2 facets of self-love that you really like to focus on moving forward. And bring that. We're going to do some sharing. I'm going to be offering some personal guidance on internal, external inspired actions. I'm going to be doing some energy work, probably taking you guys through another process. Even though you have the self-love process, I'd love to do that and make it really personal for the people that show up. So if you can be there live, I highly recommend it. If you can't, yes, there will be a replay. But as we know, if we show up live, we always seem to get a little bit more from it if you can. All right. Wishing you a beautiful rest of your weekend, carving out time to listen to all the videos, and I hope to see you for the live class. And yeah, you could still share this with friends, family, co-workers, anyone you feel guided to, because they'll have access to all the videos for a short time still. Right. So proud of you guys. Namaste.